Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
Welcome to everybody joining us around the world for this live stream event. As I just mentioned, we will be starting very shortly.
Good morning.
Oh, there's a feedback loop here.
Good morning.
Yes, good morning, good afternoon. Welcome to this live stream event on the Metaverse. We'll just wait one more minute for those that are joining us to log in, and then we will start right away. As a note, this is being recorded or live streamed on YouTube in parallel. So for later rewatch purposes, it'll be available here. We will be sending around the link after the presentations. And yeah, I think we can start now. It's 10:01. So welcome everyone to this event on the topic of the Metaverse. My name is Hugo Paquin. I am head of community at Tech Quartier. We're a tech hub and innovation community in Frankfurt Rhein-Main. And we're very happy because this is actually today the first collaboration that we have with the Taiwan Accelerator Plus, or TAC. So we're joined here by TAC experts. The managing director as well is here, Gary. So this is actually the first collaboration on a topic that's been very much in the news lately. So very happy to explore this as a joint event. Before we start, just maybe a quick few words about Tech Quartier, who we are. So we're, like I said, a startup community and innovation hub in Frankfurt, started in 2016. We have really three big pillars in terms of our offering. We have a space where we organize several events for the broader community. We also have a corporate network with whom we create different innovation programs, incubation, acceleration programs, where the corporates can really engage with a very diverse startup ecosystem of more than 600 members. And finally, community building, ecosystem development. So Tech Quartier has become a little bit the nexus of innovation here locally in the Frankfurt Rhein-Main region. And that's as part of my role, but pretty much as a community guy, we're really trying to build synergies with local investors, universities, public stakeholders, and also industry and members of the startup scene. Some of the topics we explore are listed here. Of course, a lot of use cases for the financial sector, but we're not exclusively a fintech or financial services focused hub. We are very much touching on, let's say, technologies that have applications on all industries, whether you're talking sustainability, blockchain, AI, quantum. These are topics that are relevant for all industries, and we are including also Metaverse in here. So the Metaverse topic is one that we explore with banks to see, okay, what are really the use cases there. We have the chance today to have three startups that will present on different use cases. So very much looking forward to this. This leads me to the agenda. So what will be the menu for the next hour and a half? So first and foremost, a welcome address from Tech Quartier and TAC. After that, we will have a keynote presentation by Michael Tsai, who's Director of Insight at TAC, who will really set the scene in terms of defining what is the Metaverse, what are the different angles, the different perspectives that we can look at it, so that we all have definitions in mind in order to better look afterwards at the different startups. So we have RH, who's the CEO of Red Pill Lab, who will talk to us about avatars and the technology that they've been developing. This will be followed up by Dr. Daniela Poikert from Tomorrow University. So this is a digital university who's leveraging the Metaverse really to provide a campus experience to their online students. So we'll be looking at that use case. And finally, Gerald Heidenreich, who is a serial founder, experienced at Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. Now he's into Web 3 and building the email of the future, one that is connected to the blockchain. So Gerald will be presenting us about that. And last but not least, Andreas Fowler, founding member of Rocket Star Foundation, who will really be wrapping things up and opening them up as well in a way. So in order to set the stage for discussion, he will be covering several angles of the metaverse. What can we expect? You know, we're still very early in this trend. So what directions are they taking? What kind of regulations and compliance issue is this bringing? What are the societal really implications here and about online identities? And so he will break down those various concepts, and then we can all together discuss about it in the last 20 minutes. So I've talked enough here. So I would like to pass the mic over to our partners at TAC. So Gary, who's here, he is the managing director at TAC, and I would like to officially welcome Gary and his team who helped us put this together. And Gary, the mic is yours.
All right, thanks, Hugo. Thanks. Hi, everyone. My greeting to you all. My name is Gary Wang, and I'm the CEO. Actually, I'm not a managing director. I'm the CEO for THCC Plus. Okay, THCC Plus is a national startup accelerator in Taiwan. And we started in 2019. And we have a full spectrum acceleration program to help our startups. And the reason we call ourselves Taiwan Accelerator Plus is because we are doing a lot more than just a traditional accelerator. And basically what we are doing here is, because I have been in the Silicon Valley for more than 40 years, I'm pretty much transformed all the know-how in Silicon Valley into Taiwan and then made all the multiplication to basically to help the Taiwan startups. Okay, and so far we have helped about I think maybe 500 startups in Taiwan, and we have a really good performance in Taiwan. But today I'm just so grateful and highly overwhelmed that we are here together to discuss the future. More specifically, now we are going to talk about this metaverse. Okay, while the metaverse may be the year's buzzword, and it actually provoked hype, some kind of confusion, and also a lot of misinformation. And a lot of my friends, they believe the metaverse represents a nirvana, okay, for them, okay, but some just don't buy it, okay. So what we would like to do today is we like to cut through all the noise and to understand what the metaverse is and how startups are really working on. Today's I would say today is more like an experience sharing kind of event, but this event is co-organized with our European ecosystem partner, TechFortier, and for sure our consultant, Luke, who's here, wave your hand, Luke, okay, who is actually based in Europe, okay, and he facilitated this. And first of all, our keynote speaker is one of our department director, and Michael, and he will use one of the specialties we have here called strategic radar to analyze all these tech foundations for the metaverse and what kind of opportunities we are looking for, and then what's Taiwan's role in it. In addition, we also invited our staff team. Red Pill, raise your hand here. Red Pill is here. Okay, okay. And this Red Pill lab is going to introduce their service, and which can basically achieve detailed motion capture through just normal these mobile phone cameras, and allowing users to have a very vivid avatar in the metaverse world. Okay, and now of course we have these three stars from TechFortier side. So without further ado, let's begin our keynote speaker. Michael, are you ready?
Yeah, ready.
All right, so let's just start it, okay? Thank you very much, guys.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Gary, and thank you, Hugo. Yeah, today we will talk about the metaverse, the business opportunity in the next big technology platform. So metaverse is not a technology or not any special product. It's a platform. Okay, so what's the metaverse? The term metaverse comes from the science novel in 1992, and the meta means the transcendent, transcendence, and the verse means the universe, and it's a virtual world spanning physicals and the concept both sides of the digital worlds through the blockchain technology. So metaverse does not only refer to the specific technology or industry, nor limited to the AR VR technology applications. It's a contextual concept with the blockchains as the key technologies, include the NFT or GameFi or the DeFi, and also include the Web3. So we can see the picture on the right. Yeah, here. The underlying technology includes blockchains and the AI and edge computing. Then the Web3 as a platform. Then we stack regulation will be the decentralized, and the hardware include the AR, VR, and the simulation equipment. Then we can go to the metaverse. But another interesting is that regulation not just the decentralization. It also have the centralizations metaverse. Yeah, we will talk about later. So, will our life move toward the Web3? Yeah, we will talk about what's the Web3. It comes Web1. It's read-only. So read-only concept content presentation platform. It's just the first generation's website. And Web2, yeah, here we are. So it's a transformation of the user from passive reception to active participation in the general and the transmission of information today. So today, the big tech or giants such as Google or Facebook or Twitter all belong to the category of the Web2, just because they control our data and convert them to their profit. So the data does not belong ours. And in Web3, it's aimed to share and exchange of information without relying central organizations, and information is controlled by users. But we can see the right pictures. Here has many stuff. They do the same service for people in Web3 to support them do the same things in Web2, just like we familiar this app or these apps. So the large implementation of the decentralization is still the big challenge in the development of the Web3. So maybe we will toward to the Web3, but not so fast, or not just right now. According to the Bloomberg's reports, the Metaverse has become the next big technology platform, attracting community service, online game makers, and AR, VR, or projection display, 3D, and related technology reader to size these emerging market opportunities. So we can see the market size will reach 800 billions by 2024. So we can see what sub areas in this market. Yeah, you can see the online game makers and the design software vendor or social networking, gaming, AR, VR hardware, and live entertainment. So here we will share important information is that the new virtual world will reshape the customer ratio, because the virtual world will be a whole new areas for user or for customer to working in there, or and do entertainment there, or just do gaming, exercise, or even working there. Okay, so reshape the customer ratio is much more important. The scenario of the metaverse is the virtual worlds. I just share the centralized world and decentralized worlds. But the image in there, just we can see the Web2. We have the Roblox and the Nike. They build the Nike Land in the Roblox to show up their products in the virtual world. So you can wear the Nike shoes or their shirts and do some exercise there. And the right hand is the decentralized worlds. We can see the Decentraland. The JP Morgan opened their virtual launch in the Decentraland. That means that we can get into the Decentraland and do some financial consulting there, just like these pictures. Okay, so it's Metaverse is not it's a big technology platform, and it's also a vision. So we have to we have to with analyzing the technology of the vision can be divided into the infrastructures and the hardware interface and centralization virtualization tools and the virtual worlds and economic infrastructure and the experience. So in the left side, the technical side include the infrastructure and the hardware interface or in the virtualization tools. And the right hand, we see the application side include the virtual worlds, economic infrastructure, and the experience. Okay. 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 Technical problem. Okay. So this architecture of the metaverse will let us much more understanding what the subunit in those areas. In the infrastructure included the chips and the processors and the 5G low latency network and the cloud computing, edge computing infrastructures. In the area of hardware, it includes haptics and headset, VR, and holographics, and the smart glasses. And the virtualization include the 3D design, 3D modeling, and AR, the developer kits, and the avatar, and the motion videos. And the virtual world distinguish to the centralized and the decentralized. The economy is just somebody pay. Okay, so they have payment and the crypto exchange and crypto wallet and the NFT marketplace. So the experience include the gaming and the virtual virtual contents and virtual concerts and the virtual fashion and the virtual real estate and the virtual works. So the color of this block means the maturity of these areas based on the fundraising products and the number of the staffs. So the first interesting we will share with you is this dashboard will list the staff radars. We use the funding stage and the total funding amounts to show their status on the radar. We can see the here is some opportunity space. Also here is some opportunity space. This means it's not very mature or very big staff at the list areas. It means everyone is still in their development, and they will at the just like the similar status to prepare their products. And we can see the VR and AR is oligopoly. This means there are few giant stuff there. It's just like in the area of AR VR, we can see the Oculus and the Pico and the DPVR and the Virtual. So if our staff in this still develop in this area, maybe we will consider it to how to cooperate with this giant staff or giant already company or already acquired by another big tech companies. And we can see AR also the same. They have the four major staff here to already prepare their products. So we can see the radar. According to the radar, we can see where they have the opportunity space and where we have the huge challenges there. Okay, another interesting is that whether the market will be sorry. Okay, so whether the market will be oligopoly or monopoly, most of the components comes from Taiwan. Yeah, and Magic or Rocket or Neuro, all the same. No matter how the market share develop, most of the advanced electronic product will come from Taiwan. Tesla found its supply chain in Taiwan 10 years ago. So this stuff will be the same. Will do the same thing now and here. So the picture of the rest of the pictures, we can see the all companies in Taiwan. They are they are ICT industrial companies. They are all the hidden champions, and they serve the components like optical or IC chipset or sensors to build the AR the smart glasses. So it's important to get the supply chains to support staff to build their products. So I think Taiwan will be the first choice for you to start to build your products. And the thing I will share with you is the future scenarios and the opportunity in the metaverse. Here's two things you may take away is that in the content in entertainment in the metaverse and the working metaverse will be the future of the metaverse is much more important. And the right hand we can see the digitalization tools and the user interface technology. It's much more important tools for metaverse because we need use this tool to build up our metaverse and let more and more content in the metaverse. Then we will share much more time to do our daily activities in metaverse. Then the metaverse market will rise up. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael, for this overview. As I posted in the chat, there's a few minutes now we can take for questions. Is there any questions in the audience for Michael and about the content he presented? And please feel free to unmute yourself, open up your camera, and if not, maybe I can break the ice here. So a thought came through my mind as you were presenting, and I'm curious to hear your opinion after this research. It seems to me like the market and customer behaviors towards the metaverse are kind of very early, and that we're in market building phase, right? That it seems like the push towards the metaverse is very tech driven. like you know, of course, Facebook rebranded to Meta, and there's a lot of money invested, but a lot of it is by the people building the rails and the again, the big tech. Is it something that mainstream consumers actually want or need? Is it inevitable that we're heading towards a metaverse future, or is it more like a big tech self-fulfilling prophecy, if you will? Maybe it's a bit philosophical, but like I'm not a gamer or anything, so I'm kind of coming at it from you know, is this inevitable? So I'm curious to hear your opinion.
Yeah. Okay. In for now, in the mainstream of the metaverse, user will be doing in the gaming or virtual realistic, because the here because most people who use the metaverse is the game players, and they may be the professional gamer, or their work is just their work is play the game and the show for everyone. But if the virtual work still under development, because here we use the computer, but maybe 2 or 5 years later, we will use the goggle to join this meeting, and also we will use a goggle, and we can shift to do some other things, and back to this meeting, and do another things in another events, and we all use the goggle. That will be the mainstream customers. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
I can put in my 2 cents. Okay.
Yep.
So the way I look at it is, on the fintech side, I think you know, you already have the income, and you actually, there's a, you know, itself actually generates some kind of, you know, like a revenue, everything. Okay. But on another hand, especially in Taiwan, people put in a lot of money and a lot of investment into the hardware side. For example, VR, people have been doing that forever. Okay. But from a startup point of view, actually VR is still in this chasm. Okay, you still have not closed the chasm yet. Okay, because the usability is still not there. Okay, so if you use VR, I don't think people will enjoy it, but it's getting closer. It's getting closer. Now with that much investment, especially all this 5G, this edge computing stuff, something is going to happen, because you know, people are not going to just waste their investment. Okay, but if you are asking me about what will be the next big revenue coming from after this fintech, this crypto stuff, I would say pretty much on this, you know, like the hardware side will start to happen. Okay, because they are starting to use on some kind of niche market already, and I think after they can improve their quality, the way they do it, and it's getting better and better, I think the way the time they will close the chasm, I think it's kind of foreseeable. Okay, I think we can see that. Okay.
Yeah. And I think probably COVID showed us the potential. I mean, it accelerated a lot of those trends. So
Yeah.
Thanks, Gary. I'm just looking at the time. There was one question from Enrique about how can startups break into this field that seems very big tech dominated. I suggest that we then go right away to one of the startups that is developing something for the metaverse. We have a Red Pill here from Taiwan. And by the way, Michael, thanks for your presentation. Very insightful, and I think it's a perfect intro. So RH, who's the CEO of Red Pill, a Taiwanese startup, is going to present next about what they're building. RH, are you there?
Yeah, I'm going to try to show sharing my screen. Share screen, but it seems it's disabled by the host. Can I share the screen?
Yeah, just a sec. Let's.
Sure.
Shouldn't be. Okay. Okay, there's a few red pills here, so I made one of you guys. Let me know if it works now. It should.
Oh yeah, I got it. I got a permission.
All right, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah, it works.
Okay, I have it. You guys can okay, so now you guys can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah,
loud.
we can hear you and I can see you.
Okay, so my name is Arch, and thanks for the introduction from Hugo. My company name is Rapel, and I'm the CEO. So basically, we are an AI company, and we developed the artificial intelligence. This AI can help people to enter Metaverse. That's why our tagline is entering the virtual easy. So from the nowadays, you see even there's Web3 or there's a lot of metaverse word like the Metaverse Horizon or Decentraland, which Michael he just introduced, and the Roblox. To control your avatar inside, you still need to wear the motion capture suite, or even in the using the Oculus Quest, but you still need to wear the goggle or using this and with the goggle you still only have a health body. So we want to use the AI to develop a way to make any camera, like the camera in front of you, like this mobile phone or the laptop camera right now. It can have the knowledge, it has the wisdom to understand your real movement in the real world and convert that to virtual space. And that virtual space, which is your avatar in the metaverse. Then very easy. You don't wear any device. You can enter this space and interact with your friends or do something you want to do or have a fun or team building inside metaverse. That's why the Rapel we using this AI to embed it into the camera or into the microphone, because using the microphone, using the human voice, basically we can real-time replicate what a human's voice into your virtual avatar's lip sync, and also we can detect emotion. So we can once our AI detect your voice is happy or you are sad, you feel sad, this virtual avatar also will have a frown or his or her eyebrow will change a little bit to show your real-time emotion in the real world. So I bring some example, which is our this AI can work on Windows and also how it works on Android. Maybe I have a video, then you can show up that easily. Okay, here. So he's my our CTO Doric. He came from Europe. Yeah. So we start Rapel in Taiwan, and we moved to Hong Kong and China in 2018. Yeah. Yeah. So you just go through any RGB camera on this Windows laptop, or either we can, and this avatar since based on the microphone and the camera work together powered by AI. This avatar in this virtual space, basically he already have a facial, he have a body movement, and also he have a finger gesture. And on Android, this also works too. And this is just a very normal Samsung Android phone. Yeah. So through the front camera of this mobile phone. So our coworkers movement and the facial expression can be detected by microphone and the camera together. So I think now you get idea why we call this technology basically bring your movement from the real world to virtual easy, and it can more just have a contribution, can have a benefit to control your avatar in metaverse. And then that's we don't think that's enough, because we even create a website. The website can connect with the Android and this Windows software. So you can on this Metaverse like a website. You can choose your avatar, and or our users can also exchange their avatar, which designed by them. And also you can change background, and that also this button you can connect with the software. So through this whole pipeline, we want to build this Metaverse is created by our user. So we call that a UGC, this the Metaverse. The UGC means the user generation content. We can have this environment and the digital avatar and all this interaction, and the avatar is created by and this the content is created by the users. So here's an example. We have one scenario which is using the presentation platform, which any user on our website, you can upload your presentation deck and become a virtual speaker. We call that sound like the sound Metaverse, TED in Metaverse, TED Talk. And you can see our CTO. Basically, he is in our lab, and he didn't wear anything, no device. What he had to show is in front of the mobile phone. And in this website, you can automatically replicate what your digital avatar in the Metaverse. And the camera movement is automatic. Yeah. So user can through the website or wear the VR goggle or like the Oculus inside. Every host, not host, every audience through their eye, they can go inside VR to take a look. Yeah. So it's real time. It's a real time avatar movement. Yeah. You can see the in the right side corner. And for a more advanced this scenario, we even have a teamwork, this team building scenario. The team building scenario is everyone can enter this website and control your avatar to have a virtual exercise or this gym. And it's designed for after COVID. People may be lonely in their living room or in their apartment, so they can gather inside this fitness like Metaverse. Now it's only one, because the red shirt guy basically he is a virtual instructor, and this robot is remote from like Dobrik. He's in the lab. So if his movement is really following his instructor, we will give him some bonus, like your muscle or your weapon or your armor can be more strong or shiny. Yeah. In the day, he can choose any other kind of avatar as well. Yeah. 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 Okay, so it's kind of funny, and it's not it's allow multiple users to play inside. So which kind of is building the virtual environment which you can interact with your friends or your coworker, and you don't have to go through this Zoom chatting or Google Meet. It's a really virtual environment for Metaverse. Yeah. So I think the scenario is quite obvious. We can fit for the Metaverse meeting, live concert. Is kind of similar with this gym, this scenario and the workout and the gaming. The Roblox, the children, they don't have to using the controller. They can very easy use their body to control their avatar in Roblox. Basically, we already have the plugin for Roblox Studio. So the developer can use this one, and once the user open their camera, the Roblox, this Lego-like character can be really controlled by our AI camera. So we currently have a 2B user is from Japan, from China, like Lenovo, and also in Taiwan, and a few Malaysia and Southeast Asia company or like TV station. They are using this technology to build the next generation of the TV show or the virtual fitness gene, and also let me think, or some secret project. So the business plan is a Rapel Go based on this core technology where we finish. What we are focusing on this website, we want to do a more related to the application side, like the presentation, like TED Talk, or this this gene or this team building, this kind of scenario, and also use certain exchange their creation, like the avatar or environment. So I think in this kind of side, we also can benefit for the users, because once they create this UGC content, once another user they will want to purchase that, they can have a very healthy money flow inside and have some content exchange. And eventually want to build this network. The network on Metaverse is using our technology to have this virtual avatar to interact with each other inside. Yeah, so that's our core team. I work in the Activision for gaming and Walt Disney before I found this Rapel Lab with Dobry and Brian. And for now, we have office in Hong Kong and China, Shanghai. And our vision basically is not only for the UGC YouTuber gaming, what we do before. Now we more focus on the Metaverse application inside to invite every people in the real world. They want to have an intention to control their identity and to share their identity as avatar in Metaverse and the virtual world. Thank you.
Thank you, RH, for your presentation. I would then ask if there's any questions in the audience for Red Pill.
I have a question. I was wondering, for example, how can you have any interactions, for example, in games, if you are playing a shooter's game, and how do you translate that you want to shoot with a controller? You would push a button, but how do you do it with your body just in front of the camera?
Oh, I think that's a great question. I think to shooting this kind of, in the animation or gaming, we call that a secondary animation. So this secondary animation, like shooting or have a swirl, this kind of thing. For now, we will develop a different button on the floor. So this player basically he has to step on that. We don't have at least visually to this concept to show, but we know for gaming, this kind of a secondary animation is kind of important, like you want to play a sniper. But for now, I think in the Metaverse, it's not really like this first person shooting game. It's more like you use the body gesture, use your body language to interact with each other. So I think that's a part of we are more focused now, which is have a more vivid body movement and have a more vivid facial and the finger gesture. But I think for the next phase, if we move to a more gaming oriented, this kind of secondary animation is we need to develop a more convinced module to take care of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, the Metaverse has some gaming aspects, so there will for sure some activities be really important, like grabbing something in the universe I'm just around, or just to talk to someone, or just yeah, talking might be easier, but to grab things, for example. But are you thinking about solutions, or do you have an idea how such a solution could look like? Because I don't really have an idea, and I would just be interested.
For now, I think I think it will be rely on the AI to detect. Like in the real world, now our AI can only detect what? Our AI only can detect human body, so we know how people move. But the AI or the training one could be like if I really hold a bottle on my hand, and the AI also detect, oh, you RH, you not only move like that, also on your hand there's a bottle. So in your virtual avatar, it can represent another like a cylinder thing or the bottle. And also so I think it depends on how smart is the AI can detect not only the movement, it can be the object in the real world, and can represent that in the virtual world. That's probably what I can give you the idea right now. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm curious how you will manage.
if I may, for virtual reality, you already have controllers. So those controllers, of course, you have them the whole time in your hands. So that's a key difference. But then they represent your hands. So it's also thinkable that you have a kind of piece of hardware that is here and that can represent some objects. Of course, then you are limited, because if an object just pops out somewhere where you have nothing in the real world, then it will be difficult to represent. But if there is not a too high level of complexity and you only have a few objects that you have to place at some key points in the room before, then maybe that would be a kind of option you can have, or at least that you have one main tool that you always have maybe in your pocket, and that would be, for instance, your primary weapon. So that would be something which is thinkable and already implementable.
Yeah, I think for Arjun's thinking, maybe we can a little bit narrow down or help our AI can have a better guessing. I think that's also a good idea. But for our because I think all people or engineers working for Metaverse, we are all dreamers. So what I really want to do is train our AI can recognize lots of things in real time. And represent that in the Metaverse. Yeah, so I think both way works. Maybe gradually we can make this AI can be more wise and even smarter. Thank you.
Thanks, RH. Maybe one last one, just to keep it quick. But Ben in the chat is asking, Metaverse is most likely going to work through headset technology, so VR, and headsets have already these hand tracking, facial tracking. So, what is the advantage of your product for the Metaverse?
I think the answer is quite obvious, because maybe in the deck I already mentioned the penetration over this headset is still less than 1%. So which means in here we will have 100 people, maybe only 1% own the HMD, no matter that's HTC 5 or the Oculus. So this technology product we develop is through any device, as long as the device has a camera. I think for security camera or like phone or iPad, is we convert this RGB camera can be a portal to make this human movement and into the Metaverse. I think it's kind of a revolution idea. We don't need to really wear anything, any extra device. Now lots of our users, they kind of complain, because the monitor too small or the phone is too small. So they have to come a little bit close to this device. But consider maybe in every place, in every house, we have a huge TV, we have a living room inside the smart TV, and we can start image if the smart TV inside build a camera, and then you have the home center inside, and then just open your TV. Now you go to a meeting room, but the next thing with this technology, you don't need any device. You can really enter Metaverse. And most TV is made by Android system. I think our technology already can convince that one works. Yeah.
Lower barriers to entry. Okay, thanks a lot, RH, for the presentation. It was really interesting. Switching gears now, we're going to look at the topic of Metaverse less from a technological angle and more from an actual use case. So we have Dr. Daniela Poikat from Tomorrow's University. Daniela, are you there?
Yeah, hi.
Hi. So the floor is yours, basically.
Yeah, thank you. I'm starting to share my screen. Okay. Do you see everything? I guess so.
Yes.
Perfect. Okay. You first may wonder why there is actually a university in this line of startups, and this is because Tomorrow University was set up and founded, and all the technology is done by an edtech, Tomorrow's Education, and they in record time founded a university in only 1 year, which was actually then only 2 weeks ago state recognized by the Hessen ministry. And I think it's the first German edtech that ever started a university. And so this is a bit the startup background of Tomorrow University. And what we're going to do there is actually starting 3 new bachelor's programs in 2 weeks, and they're focusing on sustainability, entrepreneurship, and technology. And we offer collaborative and remote first learning experiences in the metaverse and in over 100 locations around the world. And what we're going to do is we want to educate future change agents. And why is that actually necessary? Because probably you have already seen this picture a lot. And today our societies face challenges more complex and at a larger scale than ever before, like the global pandemic, climate crisis, and biodiversity collapse are just a few. Albert Einstein once said, we cannot solve our problems with the same thinking we used in how we created them. And this is where we heavily agree. It's our belief that as a humanity, we tackle these challenges and we can make change for the better happen. But we will need those who step up and take initiative and inspire others to follow along. So people with an entrepreneurial mindset who are able to leverage technology for shaping sustainable solutions to pressing problems at all levels and all scales. And we call them change makers. We made it our mission to provide them with the education and empowerment that will help them to realize their potential. So our purpose is to accelerate the transition to a sustainable future. For this, we educate and empower the change makers of tomorrow. And we do this by building a world's leading digital university to create a more sustainable future. And this to develop 21st century competencies, a 21st century learning experience is also needed. And we have 3 most important components, which at first is a competency-oriented learning that also enables personalization. So in the future, you will not learn topics, but you choose which competencies you want to gain. And there are, for example, in our case, it's sustainability thinking, technological literacy, entrepreneurial spirit, self-empowerment, social intelligence, and cognitive proficiency. And the second pillar is that our learning model is challenge-based. So we're focusing on real problems together with challenge partners and mentors. And the learning happens while the real world problems are addressed and solved. And this is also then where the metaverse comes into play. Our learning is collaborative and remote first. And we do that on our online campus and around the globe. We believe that learning is a very social experience, and we make sure that our learners meet their cohorts, the learning buddies, their teams in our online campus, which I want to show you a bit more in detail now. So actually, you can see this is a screenshot from one of our presentations where we had a meeting with one of the challenge partners. And so actually the background looks like the ground floor of a campus, and we have there different course rooms. We have workshops there, we have course discussions, and you can either see the avatars or then have your video cameras on. I can go a bit more into detail. So on the one hand side, there's this ground floor and the map where all that's the online campus and the online university, but also there then the meetings take place, the course discussion take place, the presentations take place. You will meet your peers there, the students. There are then, for example, there was a sustainability foundations course, and then you can either see it everything live, or then we also have like a mediathek where all the courses, then the videos are archived. And once again, a bit to the ground floor. So to go a bit more into detail there, of course, we have, like, for example, an event space there where then major discussions take place. There are course rooms and with little workshops rooms attached, where you can also then have little group meetings. There's the academic office, admission office. We have like a kitchen together, and there you can also see where our product and tech team and the education office is situated. And I guess like what's the most important there is, of course, this is all like 2D, not at all compared to what Redpill was presenting with all 3D and animations. But I think like our approach, I would say, through the metaverse and with our metaverse campus, then it's a bit more also like on this I would say more basic level, as there it is persistent. So this means the whole campus, it never rests or pauses, it always continues indefinitely. And as like the social learning experience is a key part of our learning, and the real campus experience is very important for us, because like bumping into other students, other academics, and having, like, for example, random discussions is very important, because if you just like learn a lot self-paced online at home, it's very necessary to have this social interaction. For example, we also set up office hours in our campus. What is like a very important feature is that if we're in one room, you can also close the door. So people from outside can see that there is something happening, but they cannot enter. And they, for example, cannot listen. But they can wait outside and wait until until a course discussion or I think something is over. And you always see that there is something is going on. Furthermore, then it's always like synchronous and live. So there are like in the real world, there are pre-scheduled events that take time, but also as I showed you with the video archive, this is also the place where then like synchronous and asynchronous aspects meet. So there's synchronous parts going on, but you can also then access like the asynchronous archived videos. What is another aspect is that it's not limited in the numbers of users, and we can provide, which is also very important, we can provide a context of space and people and objects. For example, then you can set the whole campus, like people know that it's Christmas time. You know that there is something going on. Who is there? For example, you can see people sitting there at different places, sitting in the library, sitting there to meet each other, sitting to have a chat in the kitchen. And this is like really gives you this feeling, okay, this is something, this gives you the context and really enables you and gives you the feeling that something is going on. So right now, of course, we rely quite a lot on this 2D experience, and but of course we are also thinking further of like how to make our course discussion even more virtual, how we, for example, can set up exhibitions in the metaverse, how, for example, specific courses like prototyping sessions could then even be also 3D, and where also 3D adds lots of value to us. So these things are still in the pipeline, and yeah, but that's it for now. And yeah, thank you very much.
Thank you, Daniela. There's Kevin, who's actually a student from Tomorrow University, who's excited to start. I guess you're starting, right, as the first, going to be the first batch where you roll this product out as maybe a beta, is it?
Was this a question by Kevin?
Yeah, sorry. So my question is, I guess you're starting to use this, right? Like you haven't run this in a previous cohort.
Yes, we already use
okay.
it. Like we already use it with our master students since, I don't know, almost a year now, and so it already is there, takes place, everything happens there.
Okay, oh, nice. There's a question from Mivikos asking if you build this in-house, or are you using a tool from a white label provider?
Yeah, we're using Cosmos. I don't know if you know that. It's on the Cosmos campus.
Okay, cool. Mankel is asking if there's a huge marketplace and a market maker for all kind of NFTs, digital certificates. Okay, I'm not sure if this applies to.
Probably not.
So what are your learnings? Like, does it work well? Is it from running it with the master's students? Like, one question I have is like very concrete, like, because it's synchronous, right? So people need to be there at the same time. How does that work? Like, is there opening hours, and how does it work with the time zone?
Well, no, the campus and the university is always there. You can always go there. So it's like a real campus.
Yeah.
There's like students there sitting late at night in the library trying to learn.
They're logged in. Like, that's the thing. Like, it's there's always people there, or.
Well, it depends. I mean, depends on the time and the workload, and but yeah, that like the idea is that really like people are there and see each other, bump into each other, having their group meetings there, and everything happens there. Yes.
Okay.
Maybe a quick question. So does that mean, Daniela, I wouldn't need any equipment to enter, right? Just my laptop or my mobile phone.
Yes, true.
Okay.
But nothing. It's also this one is browser based, and there's also an app for it. Like,
okay, cool.
Another question from Manka about how does it work with the degree, and if it's because you just got the official university label, so is it internationally recognized?
It is, yes. So with our master's program, we were cooperating together with the VU Executive Academy in Vienna. So we're doing the master's program together with them, and our bachelor programs we're now doing all on our own because we're state recognized and fully accredited bachelor's program. So totally reliable certificates, and yeah.
Okay. Wonderful. I see other questions sent to me about the degree and the cost and everything. So if it doesn't relate to the metaverse aspect specifically, I would encourage people to write Daniela directly. They can use the chat here. Otherwise, happy to share your contact details afterwards to those who know more about the curriculum and so on.
Happy to answer all the questions.
All right. Thanks a lot for your presentation today and for a very concrete, use case, in the education space.
Yes, you're welcome.
Great. So we're now gonna move on to Gerard, who's from Ethermail. Gerard is the founder, CEO of Ethermail, and will present to us the email of the metaverse, or the communication in Web3 and the metaverse. Perfect transition. Thank you.
You actually hear me?
Yes, works.
Oh, perfect. Great. Can you see my screen well? Communication in the metaverse? What it should do. Okay, great. Yeah. Hey, hello. Very nice meeting you. My name is Gerald. I'm a founder and CEO. Since 22 years, an entrepreneur, basically started in the 90s and moved from Web 1 to Web 2, Web 3, and now into Web 3 and focusing on email communication in the metaverse. So what's the background? About 3-4 years ago, we started to invest into metaverse, and we got into contact with a lot of NFT projects, launching projects. One of the core things what we saw, that actually communication on those projects on NFT side, but then also on the metaverse side, actually is something very convoluted, let's say. So let's take the example of NFT launches, for example. Very often people would launch a project, they would start communicating essentially on Telegram, on Discord. You would have those big groups, and I don't know how many of you guys have participated in those launches, but it gets very, very crowded and convoluted. So you have those Telegram messages constantly, you have the Discord groups constantly, you have the bots in there, and it's very difficult actually to keep track of what's happening. At the same time, when ownership in the metaverse and in Web3 actually changes hands, because users are anonymous, it's even more difficult to stay in contact with users, because if you have bought an NFT with a wallet, for example, if you would have bought an avatar with a wallet, but then that avatar or that NFT is actually transferred to another anonymous user, the original issuer of the NFT or avatar actually has no chance actually anymore to get in contact with you. And that actually is a big issue. So a lot of those NFT projects eventually have lost track of their community, and also have really problems to get back in touch with them. On top of it, then you have traditional companies. It's also, I think, quite interesting, for example, like MailChimp, who are then saying we're going to ban all content creators from using our services, simply because they don't want to be connected to those new technologies, or they're afraid, or whatever the reason. Interesting, for example, also we are trying now on Twitter to make ads, but then again, Twitter actually says we are not really crypto friendly. We don't really want to have people from the metaverse or Web3 advertising on it. It's very, very difficult to actually enter those advertisement spaces. So it's a typical thing. I've seen that in Web 2, also in Web 1. It's the incumbents, let's say, who are also trying to block their usership from new people entering in. And then very naturally, actually, new solutions are emerging. Very similar to also what we're seeing now with the metaverse. Of course, Facebook tried to, or has renamed itself to Meta. They're focusing very much on moving forward with the metaverse and making huge investments in that. But still, there's a lot of other companies out there which are not from the Web 2 space, who are just the new guys, and actually are getting a lot of traction. And as with every technical innovation, and we already know this from the innovators dilemma, and very often it's the outsiders then actually who can grab a market. So we actually come from a very specific angle. And I'm not focusing only on the metaverse, but I'm also going to make a link a little bit to that in a second. For I'm really speaking about Web3 in general. We have started to look at email actually as what will happen in email in Web3. And people, when we started talking about email, said, yeah, well, email, people don't really use it anymore. It's all about Messenger and Telegram and Instagram and Snapchat and so on. And then when you start looking at the numbers, it's actually not true. So it's about 320 billion emails sent every day. It's growing at the users actually from 4.3 to 4.5 billion. And is a growing market. It's quite interesting also because email actually is the first decentralized application which has been out there from the beginning. Email doesn't belong to anybody. It is decentralized from the beginning. And that actually also makes it quite interesting for Web3 once you make that link into the Web3 metaverse and actually the Web3 universe, let's say, how to adopt it to the new mechanisms. Also, email actually is the biggest bang for the buck, as one says. In my previous life in 2006, 2010, we had a company with about 10 million members in the community. and we are sending every day 10 million emails to those people, and we actually get a big return because eventually people are most likely to react on email, they are more likely to purchase also an email, rather than, for example, on Telegram or on Discord or something like this, simply because it's a way of a communication mechanism which is much more secure, also much more trusted, and very often also you're actually in front of your desktop where still a lot of purchases are actually done. So email is something which is a mechanism what can work quite well in Web3, and we believe actually that if you look at the metaverse, and there's these two worlds, or we saw this also earlier already, the centralized, the decentralized metaverse. I think we all can agree that there will not be one metaverse, but that there will be a lot of different metaverses where you can enter and where you can access and have your experiences. And this is just the beginning of it, because I believe potentially every larger ecosystem eventually will have their metaverse. So it's going to be a question of how do we interoperate between those different metaverses, and how can we access those different universes or metaverses, and what is the common denominator of how we eventually can communicate, but then also, of course, represent ourselves. There is already people looking, of course, on avatars, on cross-platform avatars potentially, to be seen how this is eventually going to work. Anyways, I mean, we have to acknowledge the fact that metaverse will take some time. We heard earlier about also hardware to be needed, because if you now go into Decentraland, it's just not where it should be. Of course, I think we can all agree on this, but it's very simple because the browser can't do it, right? So, and then unless we really solve those hardware or those software access problems, things will stay like this. So anyways, it will be many different universes or metaverses, and we'll have to look into identity. So meaning that the avatar, the representation of the identity potentially, will have to look at payment. I think that is more or less already solved in a certain way, because the wallets are there. Of course, again, they're not really cross-platform, because if you have an Ethereum wallet, it doesn't help you on Solana. But that's something relatively easy to solve, of course, with cross-platform wallets eventually. And then our bet a little bit is that eventually you'll also have to have some cross-platform communication device which is accessible and actually connected with your wallet, because that's what we believe, that the wallet, of course, will be your unique identifier. But then people say, well, you're going to have wallet-to-wallet communication. That's true, but then it's actually something which again is anonymous. And again, people are always betting on huge technological leaps going very, very fast. But the truth is that we have seen this in the past also, that those technological leaps actually happen step by step, and that the old technologies are still included in the new worlds, and then step by step actually also adopting to new needs. So this is actually where Web3 email came in. And we believe that actually Web3 email has a huge advantage, because it's accessible by billions of devices as of today. And the question what we ask ourselves is, so how can you actually combine what the advantage of Web3 is into the Web2 email space? And the result actually is this, what you are seeing here. So what we have done is we have created, for the moment, we are focusing on the Ethereum blockchain, but we are now doing it with Flow and with Solana, with other blockchains. We have created all possible email addresses, or with actually all possible wallets which are out there. So, for example, Hugo, if I would know your wallet, I can now send to this wallet at ethermail.io a very normal email with my phone, actually, and that email would arrive there and would wait for you until you first heard about from Ethermail, and you heard for the first time log actually into Ethermail. Yeah, so, and the login into Ethermail is actually with your wallet address. So that is your unique identifier. You would access the ethermail.io website, and then on there you would have a very normal web browser where you can write and receive and send emails. But it is your wallet which is, of course, connected to your Ethermail connection address. So that is the one part. Let's say the C solution. And again, for a moment, if you think back on what I've said earlier, email is a marketplace. Yeah, it is a sender and receiver, and as the fax, it just only works, of course, if step by step the sender and receiver actually start using it. So there's the use case of C2C communication that we don't really focus at the moment on. I think there is use cases, but the much more interesting question is actually the B2C communication, Because as I said earlier, most of those token projects, for example, have no chance of actually getting in contact with their token or NFT holders. So you have huge projects where people have 4 million token holders, and there's zero opportunity for those people to actually get in touch with the token holder. Even worse, somebody sells a token, as I said, and then the new owner, it's impossible to get in touch. That's also one of the reasons, by the way, why many DAOs simply don't have participation, because people just don't know what's happening in the DAO. So with this email communication address, actually the following happens. So as I said already, on the C side, we have created all wallets already. So they serve as a holding inbox, and I can send, as of today, an email to this inbox. So on the B side, so the company side, we actually now would look at a smart contract, and we are synchronizing in real time, based on blockchain data, the email addresses with actually the token assets, or with the wallet assets held in the wallets. What does it mean? For example, Hugo, you would have an NFT in your wallet, and then I can go basically to the company and say, listen, here is your smart contract. Now I've auto-created all the wallets which hold your token at ethermail.io. What you as a company, you only have to do, you have to communicate once to your audience that Ethermail is a communication mechanism of choice for the future. Users can hook up, and they can, as I said, just hook up with the wallet. They can also connect with the Gmail and so on. And that is then the unique identifier for which the project can communicate with the wallet holder. Because the beauty of it, of course, is if Hugo now sends his token to Daniela, in the backend, automatically the wallet address updates from Hugo to Daniela. So this is a very unique communication asset, which, of course, I mean, in the Web2 world, people would love this. Auto-updating email lists based on blockchain activity. And then, of course, as the wallet is becoming richer and richer, let's say, and I'm not saying, I mean, now we are buying a token, yeah, but in 5 years' time, we're going to be on Amazon and buying stuff there. Actually, that email also actually becomes richer and richer, because the information stored in the wallet is something what actually becomes quite valuable in order to target users. And that's actually the second piece of news what we've introduced. We are introducing a pay-to-read model. That means that token companies can actually send emails straight directly to token holders, NFT holders. But at the same time, if third parties would like to send email messages to non-token holders, they would have to pay for it. So the paywall is the defining factor for the user, and saying, listen, if somebody, pardon me, wants to send me something, whose token I don't hold, they would have to pay me, for example, 50 EMC, that's the Ethermail coin, which can be converted into the Ethermail token. So we are also redistributing actually how advertisement money is spent from user or from company to end user, basically, and we are taking a cut on it. So we are, on the one side, we are like a Gmail. On the other side, we are like a MailChimp, essentially connecting those two worlds and enabling email infrastructure for Web3 users and for the metaverse. Just high-level figures and what we're doing. So we started developing about 10 months ago. We launched 5 weeks ago. We are now at about 650,000 registered users, and grow at around 8,000 to 10,000 users per day at the moment. We are onboarding now the first 15 projects in the next 2 weeks. Actually, we closed a round already and are growing very fast, because we believe that this Web3 email can be a very unique opportunity for really facilitating email communication. And even more, so we're speaking now to companies like Porsche and so on, for companies from the Web2 space, because they eventually are used, of course, to email. So if you go to any Web2 company, they can't register with a wallet. It's impossible for the IT systems, because they all focus on registration with an email. Again, we are building a single sign-on with Ethermail, so Web2 clients essentially can actually register Web3 users and Web2 users very easily. So that's what we have been doing so far. Yeah, and that's how we basically look at communication in the Web3 space, and also in the metaverse, and how we believe actually the old world and also the new world somehow actually have to merge together in order to make it viable and also accessible and easy actually for the people to enter the metaverse.
No, thanks, Gerald. I mean, I think that's the common point between the 3 pitches we've heard is how to bridge, right? How to bridge between Web2, Web3, how to enter the metaverse. And I think The example from Daniela is like, okay, how can we just make it an add-on to the campus experience? Or Red Pill, it was like how to use existing tech to make it to make the step towards the metaverse less big. So I think this is a good example here of what you're building. So thanks for your presentation. I'm looking at the time now, and I don't want to squeeze Andreas too much. So if you have any questions for Gerald, I would suggest to post it in the chat so we can go right away to Andreas and his presentation. Thanks again, Gerald. And Andreas, I will pass it over to you right now.
All right, thanks a lot. So you should now be able to see my screen.
Yep.
I want to, first one announcement. At the end of this presentation, you will be able to claim a POAP, a proof of attendance. It's an NFT, and probably, as far as I understood Gerald, afterwards, everybody could send an Ether mail to everybody who claims it without anybody having to be required to disclose its identity. So it's really, it's on the blockchain, and we are connected forever at the end via this. So please stay at the end, even if you overrun a little bit. 2 or 3 sentences about Rocket Foundation, but then I will go into the topic. Rocket Foundation is a DAO, and we are also we also have been incorporated as a European cooperative. We have been the first DAO to do that. And what do we do? Our claim is bridge Web3 and enterprise, or let's say traditional world or real world. And we do that with the goal to improve fairness, participation, and regenerativeness of our economy. And we are a service DAO, so we help organizations to advance on this path. But now let's go to the topic, Metaverse Quo Vadis. Michael mentioned Neil Stephenson with the first mention of the metaverse, and this book, Snow Crash, was a dystopia. So I think we need to be careful to make it a utopia, and I think everybody here in this call can contribute to it. And so I will cover metaverse as a whole with a slight focus on governance and aspects of how can we make it better than the existing things, for example, Web 2. And the other part will be a little bit about what does it mean for an individual. Here is a slide we have already seen somehow with the other presenters, so I will only touch 2 topics. One thing is on the right side, you see the open part, and this is defined by strong bottom-up creation. And if you look at the projects, 3 of these 5 projects in the open space are from Europe. So Europe is very strong in the, let's say, open Web3 area. Ethereum was launched in Berlin. We have a lot of projects decentralized from Spain and so on. So we have a strong footprint in Europe with these Web3 oriented startups. And what we also see, or what you also can see at the moment, we have microeconomies, which means typically you just can transact economically within a world, within the same world. For example, Fortnite or World of Warcraft. But let's go to the next slide. One quote I found quite impressive, especially as it came from Tom Sweeney, who is the CEO of Epic Games, which runs Fortnite. And he says, the metaverse is going to be far more pervasive and powerful than anything else. If one central company gains control of this, they will become more powerful than any government and be a god on earth. And this comes from a Web 2 based business that more or less is already very strong. So I think this is something, I mean, that's a call to everybody, but also especially regulators to some extent. I will cover some aspects later. On the left side, you see a typical stack and architecture of the Web3. I will not cover everything. You have heard from the colleagues from Taiwan a lot about the hardware, which is a foundation. And I think all the speakers also agreed that the software foundation should be Web3 based. And if you look at the governance properties on the right side, you see a lot of similarities with Web3 properties. For example, it should be self-sovereign and neutral. It should be open and permissionless, privacy preserving and borderless. At the end, if you go into the metaverse, you want to have sovereignty, and you want to have the security not to be manipulated or not to lose any value you have created. More on this later. And if you look at the top layers, you have different, let's say, assets classes that you could have on the metaverse. For example, you could earn land, you could earn objects, avatars, currencies, financial instruments, anything you need. There's also the call MetaFi. So there is an area that of economy in the Web3 space that's called MetaFi or metanomics. So there will be a big economy around these kind of values. And the important thing is there are digital property rights needed, and this is only possible on the blockchain in a way that we want it. And you see on the left and on the right side the arrows, and this means it makes sense that everything you own or you have done in one metaverse should be also possible to be shared with other economic metaverses. So this would be one of the interesting parts if you look at a multi-metaverse world. And of course, the user is at the center. And if you look at the social properties I have put out, I have just mentioned two I find very important. One is full of rich experiences, which means we have learned a lot about gaming, but there will be also very strong use cases for learning. We also saw it because you can have a better experience how to learn. For example, you can be meeting Albert Einstein and get physics taught by Albert Einstein. Things like that could happen in the future. And what we also already see is a lot of events are happening in the metaverse. So some of the biggest concerts have been happening in the metaverse. So these are three things that already happen, and a lot of other things will come up in the future. So at the end, any experience that can be enriched by metaverses would be of interest for users. And another part I also find very important is it should be inclusive and expressive. Inclusive means everybody who enters the metaverse more or less has no history and is similar. So there is no big difference in the first place. There are some mechanisms that make this difference again up, but in the first place, it's inclusive and everybody is the same. And the other thing is it should be expressive, so you can really bring your personality to life in other ways than probably known in the normal world or in the real world. So additional possibilities to express yourself. But the question is, will one metaverse rule them all? If we look at Web 2, there is a strong tendency to at least oligopolies or one or some big players. If you look at social networks, we have Facebook with different platforms, but at the end, Facebook is ruling the social network space. We have others who are ruling other spaces, Google search and so on. So there is a tendency to this winner takes it all environments in many digital markets. And on the left, on the top left, you see three major, let's say, criteria which favor a winner takes it all effect. One is network effects, which means the more users are on the platform, the more value is created for each user. And this would be true for metaverses. Some kind of a lock-in effect. So if you are built a reputation and assets and so on in one metaverse, you are pretty much locked in if you cannot transfer it. And the emergence, if there are new things being able to be emerging from interactions of people. So we have a strong tendency to, let's say, winner takes it all effects. On the right side, you see one flywheel that would encompass the mechanisms of these network effects. On the top right, you see users, which means, how many users are in there. And if you look at the current metaverses we have seen, gaming platforms have the most users. Roblox and Minecraft and Fortnite, and they also have the biggest screen time. And then the second aspect is the creator ecosystem. So as I mentioned, emergence, openness is here a favor. And the other thing is the content and virtual assets. And I think here the Web3 based open metaverses are in advantage because you own your assets on your own and you can trade them and everything else also outside of the original use case. So different players have different, let's say, better starting points to some extent. So it's not clear how it will. One moment. Now my screen switch. Okay. Yeah. So it's not clear who will make the race at the end, from my perspective. But what can be done to overcome this winner takes it all aspect? Because I think some level of competition is always good. One aspect is interoperability and portability. We see it with the Data Governance Act in Europe, where we have a new regulation that data in one social network or any other platform should be interoperable and portable with others. So this is something the regulator can do. And typically many people only look at the technical portability, but even more important is the economical portability. Other thing is who should own the metaverse? And here there's a big question if it should be corporations, so single company corporations or some kind of communities. If we look at the Web3 world, it's typically more or less communities or DAOs or something in this direction. And third thing is we need some coordinated top-down governance. So it's not only one jurisdiction or one country that can rule it, but we need some level of coordination here. And one last little provocative question is a metaverse even a public good? So if we consequential think we live a large part of our life in the metaverse, isn't it like the real world, which is more or less the resource a public good? This is something that is also discussed. So much on the metaverse angle. Now I will switch to the identity angle, and I came up with some interesting questions that are not 100% serious. And the question in the real world is, what is the most important identity question in the real world? And typically, there's not much you can change about yourself, especially at least from the outside. It's at the end, how do I dress? So you are yourself and you can do some changes, but at the end, you are always the same guy. And on contrary, on the metaverse side, you have more possibilities. If you ask yourself the same question, you could ask yourself, who will I be today in the metaverse? So at the end, you can change nearly everything. You can have multiple identities. You can be completely different person, and therefore have a lot of more, let's say, design space and possibilities to, let's say, self-actualize yourself. Let's dig it down a little bit more in detail. There are different levels of identities. First level is proof of personhood, which means I get a proof that the other avatar is a real person. And in many cases, this is enough to know. And it will be more difficult in the future to distinguish between AI and person, especially in the metaverse. So proof of personhood is a quite interesting question if you meet somebody in the metaverse. The second one is a pseudonymous identity. We've seen the Ethereum wallet addresses, which are pseudonymous, but we also know, for example, Satoshi Nakamoto, the first who invented Bitcoin, he is also pseudonymous. And the picture is Satoshi Nakamoto, but not the one that invented Bitcoin. And on the right, you see Punk6529, which is a CryptoPunk. And this is a personality who is very, let's say, influential in the NFT and metaverse world, but nobody knows his real name. So it's quite interesting that you can build a big, let's say, fellowship and enterprise around a pseudonymous identity. And in many cases, if we think really hard, pseudonymous identities are enough. We don't necessarily need to know everything about somebody in order to have reliable interactions and communication and things like that. What we need is, and this is on the bottom side, provenance and reputation. So we need some, let's say, history and some understanding of what did this person do in the past and how is it related to some, let's say, decisions or things like that. But for most use cases in the metaverse, pseudonymous identity is enough. One thing that makes sense if you go for voting or things like that is Sybil-resistant identities, which means every person is a person and can only vote once. So you cannot vote 100 times with 100 pseudonymous identities. So this is something we need. But the real identity, which would be the full disclosure, we rarely need, really. Okay, and yeah, therefore you see on the left, on the bottom, one person, one identity, as we have it in the real world, is not necessarily true in the metaverse. You can be multiple identities. Provenance and reputations. I mentioned the PO app. If you have multiple PO apps, you can see it like a CV. You see, where have you been? What have you done? Who have you met? You have the PFPs, profile picture programs, which is CryptoPunks is the best example. Bored Apes are another one. If you have a CryptoPunk, you are a member of this community, and people can address you. You can participate in things like that happening there. So this is kind of a social token that builds a community. And what we also see is digital fashion. So we see the same stuff going on in the virtual world as in the normal world. If you wear an Artifact Nike Dunk Genesis sneaker, this is quite nice because it was the first NFT from Nike and a very limited, 20,000 limited item. So you can really have this kind of status symbols and so on also in the metaverse, and also it's community building. And what we also need is self-sovereign identity, which means the identity that I built in the metaverse should be self-owned. So it should not be linked to the platform or the metaverse I have created it, but it should be independent from the metaverse that I was building it. Yeah, one last question. Economic activity in the metaverse will be bigger than that of the real world at some point in time. This is a very strong claim. It comes from Yen Wang, from the CEO of NVIDIA. But what we see also in the current world is a lot of business is moving from real world to digital. For example, Amazon and all these big players. So it's probably true, but it means the dimension is quite big. And therefore, I think we also see the much activity in the space. Some remarks on what our future could be in the metaverse, looking at organizations. It is definitely replatforming the internet, which means the players who are dominating the internet today must not necessarily be the same that dominate the metaverse. Everybody who missed the last Web2 train can become a hero here. And this is also true for jurisdictions. Europe or others can really make a big difference here. MetaFi and Metanomics, it will be a big business around everything metaverse. And as I mentioned, we have these, let's say, network effects tendencies. So there is a high incentive for organizations to be a pioneer and engage very early, even if you don't exactly know what you want to do. Start with an explorative and learning mode and just get into it. Looking at individuals, one projection of Gartner is that by 2026, 25% of people will at least spend 1 hour in the metaverse. I think that's quite big. So we will be there. And we will not use screens and keyboards anymore for interaction. It will be, VR, AR devices and natural language, and more natural than what we do currently, sitting in front of a screen, talking into a microphone and typing on a keyboard. And very interesting also, new ways of self-actualization and experimentation, resulting in diversity of thought and learning. You can impersonate as a people of color in the metaverse and experience how it is to be a people of color, person of color. You can really build different, let's say, identities and experiment around how you are perceived and things like that. So the design space is very big, and therefore also the space for self-learning and insights. And at the end, diversity. On the regulatory side, there is no metaverse law so far. So it will be other laws that will govern the metaverse. It is data rights. I mentioned the EU Data Strategy and EU Data Act, which is very innovative. Privacy legislation, antitrust legislation, and financial legislation. We have MiCA, markets in crypto assets regulation in Europe. So if you look at all these legislations, Europe is very much leading in data and in crypto legislation. So this could be a big advantage for European players here. One question, however, is to be asked, which regulations govern which metaverse? So is it the jurisdiction of the country that the company that runs the metaverse runs in? or is it something else? There is a risk to create a surveillance capitalism, because everything will be, let's say, tracked somehow digitally. So we have to be careful not to end up in a surveillance capitalistic world. And there is some fear in the Web3 space that regulators might favor traditional players over Web3 players in order to shape regulations, because they know how to interact with them. Regulators do not very much know how to interact with the Web3 community, because it's not the same structure. There are DAOs, there are other forms of, let's say, structure. And that's it from my side. And here is a Pope. So please, if you want to participate, take your phone, grab the QR code, and if you have an Ethereum wallet, enter the Ethereum wallet address. If you don't have an Ethereum wallet, you can also participate. Just put in your email address, and you will receive the Pope on the left side. In exchange.
And I will be sending as well that code in the thank you email afterwards, so you'll have it in your Web2 emails.
Yeah, unfortunately, it will only be valid until 12 o'clock.
Yep, exactly. So
So
process. It's the concept of scarcity a la Artifact. You know, you gotta you do a drop and then you gotta close it to create some scarcity. No, thanks a lot, Andreas, for your presentation. I believe it sets the table very nicely for a discussion, which I am afraid we won't have the time to do. Just looking at the time, we're already almost 15 minutes over. But a lot of food for thought, I think, for perhaps a follow-up event at some point down the road. Thank you, Andreas. Thank you to all the speakers who took the time to present what they're working on the Metaverse. Thanks especially to Tak, the Taiwanese colleague here, for co-organizing this event. I believe you covered a lot of ground. Thanks, Gary. Thanks for being here. And a special thank you to Luc as well for being the intermediary here between us and supporting on the logistics side.
All right. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you all, and have a nice, great rest of the day, and stay healthy. Okay.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Bye.